Hi everybody, thank you very much for the opportunity to join you here and show our adoption week from the SSHOC perspective. Okay, as long as we can all see the right one there. So yeah, SSHOC is the Social Science and Humanities Open Cloud project. We adopted an RDA recommendation fairly early in the process. We needed that because the organization is spread across 6 European research infrastructures and partners from the SSH domain, some developing and some more established. And these partners have got about 40 months to move from disciplinary silos and separate facilities into a more integrated, more cloud-based network of interconnected data infrastructures. There are a wide range of partners involved across this, as there are on several of the current EU projects. And one of the major challenges there is that for each of these infrastructures, we've got a repository trust and quality challenge, probably. And while this is all social science and humanities, it's fair to say that there's a really huge range of different data types in play here, a lot of different dependencies, from the social sciences to language data, arts and humanities, cultural and natural heritage as well. And across all these groups, we're looking for a common approach to assessing these infrastructures. And in terms of infrastructures, we're not just purely talking about the European entity, but also, the people, the processes, and the technologies, and how they interact to deliver repository services. So we're seeking kind of evaluation against some set of agreed requirements. It's a pretty wide-ranging project on SSHOC, as it would have to be to bring together this disparate group of people. We are talking today from the perspective of the Governance, Sustainability and Quality Assurance group. And which recommendation did we select and why? It's the CoreTrustSeal Trusted Digital Repository Requirements. Within the recommendation world, within RDA, these are called the Repository Audit and Certification Catalogues, which was the original deliverable of a Data Seal of Approval and World Data System Partnership Working Group on audit and certification. And that falls under the existing interest group of certification of digital repositories. So why did we take this approach? I think it's fair to say that the core in CoreTrustSeal was an important area to consider. There was a very low barrier to entry. It was commonly applicable across all of the different partners. The standard itself has been community developed and remains community managed. And it was recommended to us, both directly by different people involved in the European Open Science Cloud. It's a key component in the Turning Fair Data into Reality report, and it links alongside recommendations like those from Science Europe about the selection of domain repositories for deposit. And the other reason for selection was that we're looking for something which would also be responsive to community feedback, as we knew that we'd be discovering a lot of interesting things about the different partners during the course of the process. Now, the CoreTrustSeal is based around 16 requirements. They cover the areas of organizational infrastructure, digital object management, and technology. There's no rapid way of covering all 16 of these, as you can imagine, but I'm happy to answer any questions that may arise about individual requirements. So our adoption process. Within SSHOC Task 8.2, we're looking to support different applicants in reaching their certification goals. The first of those goals might simply be a self-assessment against the CoreTrustSeal itself. We are very aware that not everyone's ready to certify. We're also aware that, and we know from experience, that CoreTrustSeal is quite often a really good tool for internal organizational conversation. You can have both kind of horizontal and vertical conversations up and down your organization based around these 16 requirements. We will be supporting people directly in achieving the CoreTrustSeal, and there's over 30 certified centers within the partnerships who've already got CoreTrustSeal, and we will be supporting them in the renewal process as well. The standard itself is dynamic, as is the process. So, while we're doing that, we're taking a number of fairly flexible approaches to respond to the different types of applicant and the different audiences. We'll be doing a lot of engagement and awareness raising, looking at the benefits of certification, taking different approaches to the self-assessment process, supporting people in defining what sort of evidence they need. We'll be running a number of workshops and webinars on repository certification. We'll do events targeted at each different community within the project, but they will be open to all. And we will do SSHOC internal reviews of self-assessments before submission to CoreTrustSeal. Now, these will be confidential, at least during the process, but we'll share as much as humanly possible about those, and we'll share the wider guidance that we offer as well. The CoreTrustSeal process itself, after making an application, a self-assessment against the 16 requirements is submitted to the CoreTrustSeal. 2 reviewers are assigned to the application. The peer review process is then reported in for a full board review. The board decision is either to request revisions against the requirements and the evidence, or to approve the CoreTrustSeal and award the CoreTrustSeal. Within SSHOC, we're kind of inserting ourselves at this part of the process, looking to engage during the self-assessment process and prior to submission. Hopefully this will also help reduce the overall impact to CoreTrustSeal of all these applicants as we go for a generalized community consensus on evidence. So what are the benefits and the impact of our adoption? I think part of this is that this goes beyond the formal certification model. We know that self-assessment improves internal communication and understanding of these different issues. It's very easy, even within an organization, to be siloed and not quite realize how our outputs affect others' inputs. So it facilitates comparison with peers. There is a public statement at the end of this. It is the most detailed public statement probably available about the fellow repository. There's plenty to learn there from that body of evidence. But also, as we become more dependent on a complex range of partners, it does support cooperation with our partners, interoperability in sort of fair data terms. But also it feeds back into data quality and process improvements after a self-assessment or a certification has been applied. Kind of continuous improvement is part of the model that we're looking to support. And I think it's important to say that it goes beyond the obvious candidates for CoreTrustSeal. There are a wide variety of potential applications of the requirements well beyond traditional repositories. Throughout SSHOC, with our wide range of partners, we will be identifying cases where one particular organization would say, well, this requirement is not applicable to me, why that is the case, and we will be feeding that back into the CoreTrustSeal review process. So where are the benefits? Well, the first one is that feedback into the CoreTrustSeal, partially to better support repositories themselves, but also the wider infrastructure actors. The European Open Science Cloud is kind of just one example of support services and service aggregation and defragmentation across different bits of scientific infrastructure. We're a lot more dependent on different people than we were before, and we need wider support for that. There's also active CoreTrustSeal engagement. They've agreed to work with a wider variety of candidates to see what they need out of audit and certification. These include general purpose kind of galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, looking at that complex partnership model that I mentioned just now, which I think more and more providers are relying on. And also, one of those complex partners is often a technical infrastructure service provider. So how does the interaction between the repository and those technical service providers work? So we've got a very varied set of SSHOC applicants. That should inform kind of wider data stewardship support, the different elements that we need to have in place at the SSHOC level and at the European Open Science Cloud level. And one of the major outcomes of this is we're looking for kind of a sustainable cross social science and humanities, ERIC, support work, something that's got a life beyond the project as well. So where are those lessons learned? I think we've seen so far that the CoreTrustSeal is pretty flexible, it's broadly applicable. Even those that don't identify as traditional applicants do see the relevance in the requirements. And all of the actors in these partnerships that we're looking at and we're working with in SSHOC are critical EOS components, and all need some level of standards compliance. So some of them are potential trustworthy digital repositories, and some are more supporting data service providers. The other thing we've learned is kind of that CoreTrustSeal has got a very strong ethos of transparency. After a confidential review, the evidence statements and links to all the evidence are perfectly public after an approved CoreTrustSeal is awarded. So on the SSHOC project, we'll be sharing information wherever possible. We'll be applying it to a wide range of data stewards, and we'll be sharing a gap analysis as to where the current version of the CoreTrustSeal does or doesn't meet the needs of the community. I'll just finish on a note about our support for repository certification. There's a bit.ly link here which will take people to kind of the terms and conditions of who we can support and how. So if you'd like to contact us and ask for anything else, and there's a direct contact list on the SSHOC website for any more direct questions that you've got related to SSHOC itself or to our adoption of the CoreTrustSeal. So thank you very much for your time.